Well, what's up again there, guys? Brian here, the 3 Topics Gamer, and I have another worst to best ranking video to share with you today. I'm sure this one is going to surprise a lot of you because, as I'm sure you can tell from the title that you clicked on, I will be doing my own personal tier list style ranking of all the Halo games that I have played. Now, as I'm sure it's no secret, I'm a hardcore PlayStation person with some background in Nintendo, and I'm not really too fond of Microsoft's Xbox system, and therefore can't really say I'm a major fan of the Halo franchise. However, it has been around for a while, so that's at least enough for me to respect it. And heck, I can openly confess that from this video, as you can see here, at one time I was the owner of an Xbox, and heck, unfortunately, I still do own my copy of Halo 5. So I think that gives me enough credit to do a ranking of Halo games that I have played. And I have played most of them, except for the most recent one. But I think I know where I would rank it if it was on this list. So before I start doing my ranking, like always, if you do happen to enjoy this little ranking video by the end, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to track me in all my future updates and as well as other videos. So as we jump into the list, everything, as far as I can tell, is here except for, the most recent Halo game. So you got Reach to 2, 3, 5, Halo Wars 2, and I believe the arcade games. I think 3 of them are arcade on-rail shooters. And I actually was able to play one of them, and I do know where it's placed. So as you can tell from ranking, it's pretty standard from A, B, C, D, E, F, and then have never played. So I think the ones that I'll put that I haven't played, if I had the most recent one, I would, I would put it in never played. But I think just from what I'd seen, from the story and gameplay, I think I would put it definitely in the B tier, maybe in the upper B tier. I think that's where I would put it. I definitely think the newest Halo game, if I had played it, probably did get things back into shape after what happened with Halo 5. But the ones that I certainly haven't played, I have not played a Halo, I believe that's Spartan Strike, and Spartan Assault. I'm not. Either of those are arcade games or mobile games. I don't know, but that's where I would put it. So starting from the bottom, I guess the worst one by far would have to go to Halo 5. The promotion for this was crazy. I mean, they were trying to build up this epic fight between Spartan Locke and Master Chief, and that just didn't happen. I think the story and what they did with Cortana was kind of pointless and ridiculous after the ending of Halo 4. And I think the fact that they made it kind of squad-based, as in it had you work with 2 different teams of Spartans, and it always had you in a group, I think took away from the overall experience. I mean, Halo, I think, is a game you either play as like solo Master Chief or you would play with like one extra secondary player. And I think that's the most dramatic characters that you should have in any one Halo game. And unless you knew the backstory between, Master Chief and his squad, you had no idea who these other characters were. Now, luckily, I actually didn't know the backstory, so I understood the story more, but I think that anyone who was just going into it straightly without going into any of the extra media material would have just been completely at lost. And I don't think Locke's team was very interesting unless, again, you knew the backstory of those characters. So the fact that just to have any sort of interest in the story, you have to do a lot of research and homework before going into this game, I think is a major thumbs down. And I think the enemy variety was not very impressive. Weapons weren't very impressive. Levels outside of like a few were decent. But other than that, I think Halo 5 was a big misstep. It's not like an overall terrible game, but I do think it was not a great Halo game in the slightest. Definitely well below average, which is why, to me, I would have to put it as in the D tier. As we go into C tier, and just guys give you a bit of a heads up, I still do have a little bit of a cough, so please forgive me if I drink just a little bit of water. Now to get to the C tier, I'd have to go lowest is probably just the arcade game. I worked at an arcade last year, and I was able to play this. If I remember correctly, this game actually takes place during the events of the first Halo game. So there was that, and it was an on-rail shooter. It was all right. No, nothing too extraordinary. I'd played better on-rail shooters than that one, but overall, I think it was okay. But I would put after that, I think I would put a Halo Wars 2. I'm not really big into real-time strategy. I mean, I am into real-time strategy games. I don't think I was too interested in that one. How in terms of its gameplay style. However, I will say that the story was very, very good, and I like how it actually did connect to the main series of games. And I think that that's kind of why I would also put the first Halo Wars, also right next to it, both in the C tier. I think story wise they're both good. I just don't like that real time strategy setting for Halo. That's really it. Other than that, I think if you are into real time strategies and you are a big Halo fan, I think getting Halo Wars 1 and 2 would be definitely a major plus. Definitely pick those up if you haven't already. But heck, don't look at me to kind of like, to recommend things because I'm a mainly PlayStation version of it. Heck, I can respect my opponents. Okay, as we go into the B tier, most of these are B tier. I think there's only one of these games I would even call an A tier game. But starting on the lowest of the B tier, I would go with Halo 3 ODST. I think the game was just too short. That's my only real flaw of it. I think that the story, the setting, the execution, the game mechanics, I think everything worked out just fine. I just think it was just from I was able to blow through that like relatively quickly, and that's my only issue I have with thinking. Other than that, it was just fine. Then I would put Halo 4. Now, Halo 4 was taken over by new studios, we know, so it kind of started like a new era of Halo. And I think for what they attempted to do, adding new mechanics, adding a new direction, start a new era, I think they did a very good job. I would certainly say that Halo 4 and the most recent Halo game, I think are the best examples of it being taken over by a different studio, learning lessons from the previous games, and then trying to work with them. And I think that, at least for Halo 4, I think overall it was a very, very solid, good game with a great story, and probably my favorite ending out of any Halo game in general. So that's where I would put that one. Next, I would put Halo 2. I did play this when it first came out, when I was much, much younger. The only thing I don't like about it is the ending. I don't like how it just abruptly ended. I think they should have added something to give it, like, I understood it was like the middle section, and so you kind of want to end on a cliffhanger because, Catan had just been taken, and then, everybody's kind of in a little bit of a disarray in terms of, the flood and everything. But I just think it should have had a better ending. I think if it did, I think I placed it a little bit higher. But it still a great game. Definitely built off the first one and a lot, and improved it on a lot of ways. But yeah, I put it in B tier. Then I would follow that with Halo 3. I think Halo 3 was a good ending to that storyline involving the flood. I liked playing as Arbiter. Arbiter was definitely probably... I prefer playing as Arbiter than Master Chief. I think Arbiter, in his backstory, was just a little bit more of an interesting character, at least for me. At least I thought he was. And, yeah, overall, just about Halo 3 was good. Now, at the top of the B tier is going to surprise a lot of people, and I would actually pick Halo Reach. I actually really liked Halo Reach. I actually kind of preferred those type of stories that don't end on a happy note and are kind of getting away from Master Chief. I mean, I understand that Master Chief is like the main focus of the whole Halo franchise, but I've found that I actually am drawn a little bit more to stories that are away from him. I don't really... No, this is just my opinion. But I really don't think that Master Chief or John 117 is that deep of a character. I just think that he feels too invincible. I think it was only this most recent one where I think he got a little bit beat up, but not that much. And he just feels too invincible. And I don't like characters that feel invincible or just can't be beat or have no weaknesses and don't. And I'm just like, the fact that he's faceless. I mean, that is part of his whole thing. I mean, you if you look in other medias, you can actually see what he looked like without the helmet when he was much younger. But just the fact that that's built his whole persona, he kind of feels a little bit like a robot. A little bit. Like most games, he feels like a robot. And like a few times he might show like a little bit of emotion, but you can't really tell because he's in the helmet, so it takes a little bit of performance, and so it's a little bit of a balancing act. And and that doesn't make him a bad character. It just makes it difficult, at least for me, to... It just made it always difficult for me to kind of connect with him as a character. I mean, I understand that Spartans are kind of like the way they are, but I just think that with Reach, getting to know the individual members of that squad and what they went through, especially during the fall of Reach, I think was a compelling story because that the fall of Reach was a major event, and that's probably my favorite period in terms of story in all of Halo. So the fact that I think people really need to give that game a lot more respect than it deserves. So that's why it's ranked as the highest in the B tier. And obviously number one, an A, and probably my favorite Halo game has to go to the first one. Uh, One that started it all. I mean, this pretty much made Microsoft what it was. I mean, it's the reason why it's lasted this long because I mean that is its franchise. That is where it started, and it's still going to this day. And I think that it was just a great game. It set up everything, with the flood and setting up Master Chief and his connection with Cortana, and doing just everything that set it up. I just think that in its simplest form, that's when it was at its strongest. It's the simplest. This is the one that I think everyone, if you want an introduction to the franchise, should absolutely play. I think you'll get the most out of it. It's most simple. It's simplest to follow, and it sets everything up. And I think even if you get a chance to play the more like kind of remastered version, I think they uploaded they released like a number of years ago, which is the one that I played. I did play the original Halo on the Xbox, and I also played that one on PC, and then I actually played the updated version when I got my Xbox One. I think that's the one I ended up just kind of enjoying the most. And even, I think that was the one that I even played the most amount of multiplayer, and I'm not even a big multiplayer first-person shooter fan, but that's the one game out of all of them that I actually did play the most multiplayer for, and I think that one, outside of Reach's story, definitely has the best story that I could follow just in the mainline story games. And I think that's pretty much where I would rank all of the Halo games. So now that you guys know my ranking of all of the Halo games, how would you guys rank them? Share your ranking with me and everyone else in the comments down below. And if you like this video, please not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you guys have any more ideas that you would like me to do for more future worst to best lists, don't be afraid to share those ideas in the comments down below as well. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I will see you all next time.